Okay, I am not Marquita Bradshaw, as you may notice, but I don't know if she's here yet or anyway. I'm Mary Lovelace, and let's see. So I have always been a little on the loud side and on the long-winded side. So I'm going to be louder than Joy, and I'm going to be longer than Jenna, I believe. So anyway, I knew I had a story to tell about being raped in college, but I was having a hard time putting it together and coming up with a theme or whatever. So I went to the wisest women I know, my 30-something-year-old daughters. And they told me it was fine if it was messy and chaotic and didn't have a point, because that's the way life is. And they also reminded me that this event did not derail my life or rewrite my story. It's something that happened, and so here it is. I was an only child and went to an all-girls school for my whole schooling life. I was the goody-goodiest of all goody-goodies, and to say that I was innocent when I went to college is a vast understatement. I arrived at college all wide-eyed and chaste, and immediately started dating an upperclassman. He was cute, he drove a cute car, he had cute friends, his fraternity gave great parties. So, it was just a lot of fun, and I really liked him. By the end of freshman year, we were fighting a lot over sex. He wanted it, I didn't. We would fool around, and I'd make sure we always stopped short of having sex. My definition of having sex is the same as Bill Clinton's. A penis goes into a vagina, and until you did that, you were still a virgin. And for some wacky reason, being a virgin was very important to me. It goes to that goody-goody thing, I guess. But we would fight and break up and fight and break up, rinse and repeat, and we went on like that through my sophomore year. I was away for most of the summer after my sophomore year, and I came back in August determined that I was going to break up with this guy. But first, we had to go to a wedding in Florida with a whole bunch of people. When he dragged me out of a fun party down at the wedding and wanted to go make out somewhere, I was not happy, and I turned to go back into the house. He grabbed my arm and threw me up against a car in the driveway, and I don't know what I said to him in response, but he did not like it, and he hit me in the face. That was it. I mean, one strike and you're out. I told him we were through. I went back into the house, and at the end of the weekend, I drove back home with my roommate and told him to find his own damn way home. And for the next 2 weeks, he called, he wrote, that was back when you could write. He would send flowers, he'd beg to get back together, but I was having none of it. So, as a matter of fact, I was very excited for what this junior year in college was going to hold. I already had friends who were getting me dates. It was great. I am not sure what he said to make me drive over to the off-campus house that he shared with some other guys. I don't know if I felt sorry for him or if I had pictures or mementos to pick up, but I went. And up in his room, he begged me, pleaded with me to stay together. But I said no. Yada, yada. He threw me on the bed, held me down. I thought I heard somebody else in the house, and so I screamed for help. He hit me again, and then he raped me. I struggled, got away, and left and went back to campus. I could have gone into a lot of detail there, but my wise daughters said that was not necessary, because all women, if they don't know the situation, they know the vocabulary. And also, we didn't want to give him that much focus. But the bigger story, I think, is maybe not the rape itself, but how everyone in my life reacted to it. First, how I reacted. I wasn't thinking about reporting it. I mean, gosh, I'd gone to his house. We had dated for 2 years. Who on earth was going to believe me? And also, then everybody I knew would know that, oh my God, I wasn't a virgin. I reacted probably like most women of my generation, with silence and shame. I did Olympics caliber mental gymnastics to pretend that it had absolutely not happened at all. I took that memory like a chewed up piece of gum in tin foil and put it into a teeny tiny little ball and buried it in the back of my brain. That is, until 2016, when Donald Trump slithered onto the national scene. Late that October, before Election Day, my wonderful husband Bill and I were talking about the Access Hollywood pussy-grabbing tape, and the first group of women who had come forward to accuse Trump of sexual assault. Bill didn't get it. He said, well, why didn't those women seek justice all those many years ago? I mean, when something like that happens to you, you report it. Well, I argued vehemently, and my stomach at this point is already churning. Because keep in mind, I have not told a living, breathing soul about this in 42 years. Anyway, I argued that of course those women did not report. They were for a million reasons, the million reasons that all women don't report. They were afraid of not being believed or being blamed. They were ashamed. They needed the job. There was a huge power discrepancy there. Suddenly, 42 years of tamping it down, keeping it secret, and pretending that it just flat out had not happened, all fell away. I blurted out, I believe the women because scumbag Jones raped me in college and I never told a single person. Bill was shocked. I told him my story, and then he started asking me questions. Why did you go over to his house? Why were you in his room? Why didn't you tell somebody after it happened? The man I loved and trusted more than anyone in the whole world just flat out did not understand. And let me tell you what one of my wise daughters said about this part of my story. She said, usually those questions would sound ignorant and would make me indignant, but because I know Dad, I kind of hear those questions as coming from the same desperate place as when you're watching a horror movie. Oh God, why is she going in there? Doesn't she know there's a monster in there? Stop. After a lot of talk and healing and newfound understanding on Bill's part, we got past this bump in the road, and Bill came out of it a much stronger support for me and a much greater ally for women. Shortly thereafter, I told my daughters, and while they were wonderfully sympathetic and caring, they didn't seem particularly surprised. And it made me wonder, is rape more common now? Or is it just that the taboo of talking about it has gone away in the younger generations? My daughter said, "My generation processes it with anger, while yours processed it with shame." One thing's for sure, they do not blame the woman. For a couple of years, I rocked along with only my family knowing, and it's not that I was hiding it again, it was just it never came up. You don't just walk up to a group at a cocktail party and go, "Oh, have I told you about my rape?" But then came the Kavanaugh Supreme Court hearings and the remarkable and stunning and compelling testimony of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. I wondered if my rapist had been nominated for some higher office, would I have had that sort of courage, those guts? Well, he did become a lawyer. But that higher office thing was never going to happen because later he was convicted of some white-collar fraud thing and went to prison for a little while. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? But that same week of the hearings, I was at lunch with some good friends. And one of them asked if we believed Dr. Blasey Ford. Absolutely yes, I said, because I was raped in college and I never told anyone. After I told my story, another friend at the table said that she was raped also. A few months later, I was with a bunch of college friends. And again, I told my story, and to a woman, they all had their own stories, whether it was their own, or a daughter, or a friend, they all had it. And you know, the funny thing about telling a woman friend that you were raped 42 years ago and never told anyone, they don't ask a bunch of questions. They just reach across the table and grab your hand and say, "I'm so, so sorry."